Hello.
Hello.
Hi. I'm gonna lean back. Hi everybody. Welcome. I'm super excited. What are we doing here today, Waffles? We're just hanging out?
Yeah, we're not doing anything. Actually, I thought we were scheming on how to end the O&O show.
Oh, I was going to give spoilers on how I was gonna just, kill everybody before the end of the books. But at the last second, I think we were convinced to maybe do a first look at the Pathfinder remaster instead. You down for that?
Blame Paizo.
Yeah. How could you, Paizo? No, I am very, very excited. Just do what we're doing in Kingmaker, murdering everybody, or just doing really stupid things. Yeah, that's fine. um, okay, so not how could you, Paizo, but rather actually genuinely thank you, Paizo. Because I have a couple things that I do have to get to before we can look into this. So we do have to have a quick disclaimer, which is that um, we oh my god, where is it? I can find it. Oh, okay, yes. So these books were provided to us on a complimentary basis from Paizo for review purposes. So something something disclaimer, something something compliance US law. I think that covers it. I think that'll work. But likewise, because of that, while we are very eager to get our mitts on this, and I will be very transparent, I know next to nothing about these things. I know there's been some blog posts that have covered little things here and there. I probably have read half of them. So this is really going to be mine. Waffles, is it your first look as well? Have you looked into anything yet?
Kinda. I've caught some spoilers from some other people who did the first look early. Really, the only thing I got. Can I spoil it? Can we just go ahead and start now? Should I
I
wait?
guess not. I
Should
guess
I wait?
not.
The only thing I got super interested in is there's a new action called reposition.
Ooh.
So instead of shoving people, you take an action to make an athletics check, and you have to be grabbing them or have one hand free.
Well, that we'll get into.
Okay,
Let's
okay,
look
okay,
into
okay.
it. That
Okay,
sounds
okay,
really
okay.
interesting though. That's exciting. Cool. So yes, this will be our first look as well. What we want to do is we are going to open this fully Q&A. We're going to dive into this together. What we're looking at today is going to be the player core and the GM core. We'll be kind of switching between the two as necessary. What we did preliminarily is we went and reached out to the wonderful, amazing Breakfast Club. Breakfast Club is all of our Ko-fi and Patreon supporters for Waffles Maple Syrup, and we asked them if they had any questions. And so we're going to start taking a look at things based on those questions, and then we'll just absolutely open it up. If you have a question about like the section that we're in or something else, just post it in chat. We'll do our best to make sure we catch everything and answer everything. I think that's it. Waffles, you want to flip to the other screen?
No. Yeah, I'll flip.
Okay.
Bah. We're there.
My headphones
We're
are
on
falling
it.
off. Ooh, we are. So I want to showcase real quick. If you ever see Waffles, if you can toggle this, if you ever see not the screen that's in front of you right now, and you see a nice little cover thing instead, that is going to be our due respect to not showing the entirety of the book on stream. We're not going to flip through page by page because we want y'all to enjoy this as well and take a look at it and get your own mitts on it too. But that, if you see that, that's what we're doing. We're just popping that over so we can find something else. But let's get into
This is my mistake protector.
That's fair. Okay, I know I wanted to start with the Breakfast Club questions, but Waffles, you said new action.
Yeah.
And I just kind of like want to start there.
Should
Where
I
would
pull it
that
up?
be? I'm curious though. So would this be in the player core or the GM core?
Brain says GM core, but when I search it in GM core, I don't find it. So.
I'm gonna look for it here. The important part of searching does imply that I spell it correctly. So, there is that. I do see it in the player core. but that is just in Rock Dwarf
Yeah, that's
specifically.
where I saw it too. It's
Oh,
we're doing
interesting.
good.
All right. Never mind. We'll find it later then, I guess. Let's jump in with our first question. And this is going to be from our very own Maria, our Taliatia on O&O. How are you doing magic since there's not going to be schools? I think that is something that everybody wants to know. So what we should probably do is jump to classes and look at Wizard. What do you say?
I was in spells, but we can do classes too.
Sure. Let's start with spells. Where would that? There it is. Chapter 7. Spells.
Arcane spells, divine spells, occult
Ooh,
spells.
I want to do magic traditions. Yes.
Looks like they're the same.
Well, so magic traditions. So I am on, for you Waffles, I'm on page 299. And I'm just looking at the magic traditions, which they explain the same way they always have: arcane, divine, occult, and primal. Make sure you take off the cool. So this is all going to be the same. Your class determines which tradition of magic makes sense. But do they talk about... So scroll down to the next page, because we do have the 4 essences, and it looks like they're kind of recategorizing things like this. Now, I believe this existed before as well, the way they do the 4 essences of magic, which is going to be physical or metaphysical forces. So matter, mind, spirit, and life.
I said yeah.
And they group it together, like arcane primal is matter, arcane occult is mind. Where's the other one?
Spirit's probably
divine and occult is spirit, and divine and primal is life. So like they're kind of categorized like that, but that's all fine. That's not anything. Other spell traits. Okay, so if we go to the next page, I'm seeing that they're sort of categorizing it. This is more, they're kind of, Pathfinder2e with the trait system and the tag system. We have darkness and light. Is this what this isn't necessarily...
The only thing I actually remember hearing that they were changing, and I don't know if I know they're changing some spells, obviously, due to the words and everything, but they're also changing good and evil, which will affect like all spells.
Yeah, so this is the thing that I think we all need to remember. We're coming from non-remaster into remaster, so we're looking for, okay, what are the changes, right? But the GM core and player core are going to be for somebody brand new into this, just learning it. So it's not going to be laid out in a way where we're just like, here are all the changes. So...
Okay. I have one spell if you want me to.
Sure.
There's Divine Lance. Let me take this back off. I know it was usually a good spell. It is now attack, cantrip, concentrate, manipulate, sanctified, and spirit.
Can you please put that on the screen?
It is.
It is not.
It is.
There we go. So it is still sanctified. Interesting.
Yeah, sanctified and spirit would be the 2 different ones here.
So spirit was not what they used to call it then, maybe?
I definitely don't think it was a tag. They had tags like mental and tags like primal, but it looks like they took the primal and like this is no longer divine, it's spirit.
Interesting. Well, it is, so the tradition is still divine.
Sure.
But it doesn't have the divine trait.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, sanctified is definitely
Sanctified and
new.
spirit are both new, I'm pretty sure.
So I'm looking through to see if they like define the trait anywhere. Oh, perfect. Let's take a look at this, because I don't know if this is exactly what it is, but let's just kind of jump to it. Can you go to page 409, Waffles?
Yeah.
So damage types are going to go into it a little bit because I saw that there is spirit damage, and this was something that was mentioned, so I wanted to look at it and see what it looks like. So we have physical damage, which we know, energy damage, which is acid, cold, blah, blah, blah. Actually, in energy damage, two special types of energy damage I can read, y'all. Two special types of energy damage specifically target the living and the undead. Vitality damage harms only undead creatures, withering undead bodies and disrupting incorporeal undead. Void damage saps life, damaging only living creatures. So they did vitality and void.
That's your necrotic and heal. I think heal was the other tag.
Yes, I believe so. So that means the cleric
positive and negative, actually.
Does that mean the cleric needs to be sanctified in order to use the spell? Let us look at that in just a second. Spirit damage, directly affecting the spiritual essence of a creature. Spirit damage can damage a target projecting into consciousness or possessing another creature, even if the target's body is elsewhere. Interesting.
Scary.
The possessed creature isn't harmed by the blast. Spirit damage doesn't harm creatures that have no spirit, such as constructs. Okay. Many effects that deal spirit damage also have the sanctified. Okay, so this is interesting, though, because it says many effects that deal spirit damage also have the sanctified, holy, or unholy traits. All of which are described in the sidebar on page 36 and on pages. So I want to look at those. But it's interesting to me that there is vitality and void as energy damages and also holy and unholy.
Well, vitality and void is positive, negative, because that's just if you're living or undead. You can still be a good undead, technically. And then or the ones you just said, holy and unholy, are good and evil.
Interesting. That's cool. I like it. Let me finish.
I still don't know what sanctified is.
And we still don't know what sanctified is. Okay. So, do you want to, Waffles, jump, just because I don't lose these numbers, go look at the sidebar on page 36 and 456 and 462, whatever those are, and then pop to cleric to see if we can find more about sanctified?
Yeah, I found sanctification right here in 36 sidebar.
Some deities sanctify their clerics and similarly devote. So far not all. Some deities sanctify their clerics and similar devoted followers. This gives the followers the holy or so you would have the holy or unholy trait. The holy trait indicates a powerful devotion to altruism, helping others, and battling against unholy forces like fiends and undead. I do love how carefully they defined that. And unholy, in turn, shows devotion to victimizing others. Ooh, they must have had a long time thinking about how to word this. Inflicting harm and battling celestial powers. Deities that list must choose mandate gaining the trait, and those that list can choose give the devotee the option to choose the trait or not. You can have the holy trait, unholy trait, or neither, but you can never have both the holy and unholy traits.
Interesting.
That is very interesting because I know. So one of the things that we might touch on later is the how they're doing like Nephilim and things like that, and how they're doing sort of the ancestries that you can mix and match, and that you can technically be part lawful, part chaotic, part, all of these sort of mixes. And so they're very specifically specifying, though, you cannot be holy and unholy at the same time.
You'd be too overpowered.
Too OP. I think also it would get very confusing as to what damage hits you. Very cool. So spells and other effects can have these traits, making them more powerful against creatures with the opposite trait. Some spells and abilities have the sanctified trait. If you have the holy or unholy trait, when you use a sanctified ability, you add your holy or unholy trait to it. Makes sense to me.
And then there's likely stuff with celestial beings or fiends and stuff that are like, if hit by a holy spell, you roll it one less success or something like that. I assume is where that's going to come in.
Yeah, I'm quickly searching the GM core out of sheer curiosity to see if we have any of those that we can So we can she, but it's not a big deal. Do you want
Lawfully chaotic. I agree.
do you want to take a look at page 462 or 456 or 462 to just kind of read more on holy and unholy? Because if we're interested in that.
456, you said?
I don't know what I just said. Probably not. Probably 452.
I said 462?
Listen, I say words and then I don't
those
remember
are all
them.
pages of the glossary index, so I don't think it's going to help us much.
Oh, okay. Just redefining them, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Ooh, what's that? What are we looking at? What is it?
This looks like a spell slot tracker.
Ooh, did they
Arcane,
redesign?
occult, primal, divine. It looks like they redesigned it a little bit for sure.
I do want to take a peek at that. Where is this?
This is 451. Looks the entire character sheet got revisited. It's probably good.
Well, so from a design perspective, which is what I always end up talking about, there's always been a lot of conversation in regards to the Pathfinder character sheets. And I know that they also revisited it for the beginner boxes that they did, and there was a lot of like positive feedback when it came to that.
Yeah, I think they're a little more accessible now. Like the spell attack and the spell DC have different icons that you write your number in, so like your eye can track icons a lot easier than it's just supposed to be here on a page.
They also give ample space with these spells.
Yeah.
Just to kind of write it the way you want to write them, but you have like how many actions it is, the rank that it is, and if it's prepared or not, I suppose.
Yep.
I will be very curious how from this, if any of the VTTs revisit, how they're showcasing it. Oh, look at the little just the magical traditions at the top, the sort of just like the ability to just sort of circle it in, because then you don't have to like, that's space efficient. I like it. I like it a lot. Spell rank, spells per day, spells remaining. Amazing.
The cantrip rank reminds you that it's half of your level rounded up on the sheet.
It does. That's really nice.
Cool.
Anything? What about up above? So we have, in the character sketch bit, you have the ability to just sort of draw it if you want to draw it or put a picture on there. It's always really cute. And it does look like I'm going to the top. I'm going to literally to the top of the character sheet. It makes my brain a lot happier than here's the real kicker. Everybody who has watched Outcast and Outclass knows the one thing that we can never find is perception. My eyes immediately went to perception this time. I don't know what this means. I think we have to not sell our shirts anymore.
Our shirt's useless.
I like it. No, I love the symbology. I love that speed is like an arrow for how many feet you can go. You have the very simple check marks of trained, expert, master, legendary on each of these. Takes up far less space. And of course, if for those that are not familiar, one of the main things that has changed is the attributes are just the relevant number now. I don't want to say the wrong word because I always get them wrong. Is it the score or is it the other one? Do you know what I'm talking about, Waffles?
It's the modifier.
The modifier.
Yeah.
Because we don't need the rest of it. We really just need the modifier. Yeah. So there's only space for the modifier.
You don't need to know if you have 20 strength. You just need to know it's a +5.
Exactly. I love it. And then a hero points. Oh, look at that. Under hero points, they actually kind of talk a bit more about how to utilize them. So you gain one at the start of each session, and when granted by the GM, spend one to reroll a check and spend all to avoid death. That would be super helpful for new players. I think that's phenomenal, honestly. Person's immunities. I really like this. Yeah, and then at the bottom, can you scroll down a little bit to the bottom half of the character sheet? The little reminders, the mini legend for reminders, which is just how you do the math on, trained, expert, master, legendary, and what the action icons mean. This is so user friendly. This makes me so happy.
It's good stuff.
They also put the lores in the middle, which is interesting, so you can kind of fill in. That's actually very. I don't know how I feel about that. I think that I appreciate that they're as relevant as the rest of them, and I guess it's by
It's
alphabetical.
order, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
They've kind of always done that, so like since
Always put it in the middle.
since Pathfinder 1, like lores are just as relevant as everything else, so it's just alphabetical order. Like
True. Let me catch up on chat. They must have a lore going over it. I'm sure. They are quite wonderful. Um I feel like Roll20 tried Fumu to have it kind of look like the other character sheet, but I feel like it, because of programming and because of some of the other stuff that they tried to do, like I don't know if it was one for one, and I don't know. I'll be curious to see if they revisit it. Um
I agree, though. Actually, I realize what that question was about now. The schools of magic being evocation, enchantment, are all going away.
Correct.
So
That's why I wanted to go to Wizard.
sure. All right, you want me to jump to wizard then?
Yeah, let's do Wizard.
Oops, I jumped to all classes. Spoilers. Wizard hit arcane schools.
Yeah, first of all, I also want to showcase some of the art because it's super
Yeah.
cool. I love the Pathfinder iconics. This is our Wizard iconic. Forgive me, I do not know their name. I'm terrible
I
at
don't
this.
either, honestly. Yeah, I'm terrible at remembering all the names.
Okay, so I know Wizard made
Ezrin.
Ezrin, nice. I'm just kind of glancing through personally.
I'm on jump to the arcane schools.
Okay. Let's just kind of read this little bit.
Yeah, I forgot that's how they're doing it.
What's that?
I said, oh yeah, I forgot that's how they're doing it.
Yeah, I think there was a blog post that talked about this, and part of the mention here is schools of magic are now actual schools. So this is gonna be very interesting. So I'm just gonna read this little arcane school bit because I just want to know how they worded it. Your arcane school is where you've devoted yourself to the study of spellcraft. Whether you learned in the storied halls of a formal institution, via an apprenticeship with an archmage, or taught yourself from secondhand tomes, your arcane school indelibly set the curriculum and direction of your magic. So there are curriculum spells. And I'm assuming that is sort of the equivalent here. You automatically add some of the spells listed in your school's curriculum to your spell book.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
those were
skip.
the minor, moderate, and major school spells I think that you used to get. So now they're curriculum spells.
Got it. Yes. That makes sense. Unless you were Universalist, but I guess that Universalist is going away with this.
Maybe.
I'll be curious how they handle that. So we're gonna skip the details of spell ranks. Oh, also, we kind of like skipped this because I just sort of adopted it instinctually. But spells are now ranks, not levels.
Yeah.
To kind of
your spell?
clear. I think it. I don't know if this was like one of the necessary changes or just one of the ones that they wanted, because I think they talked about it being just clearer when you're talking about like the rank of a spell versus your level.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that.
It's a common point of contention. I know in Pathfinder 1, so I'm sure it came over to Pathfinder 2, is that when you're trying to do things like counterspell, it says you have to roll against the spell's level. But then when it comes to magic items, you're like, well, is the spell's level the item level? Is it the spell inside it? Because invisibility can be cast at level 9. Like,
That makes so much sense. Yes.
Yeah.
This should clear things up. Wizard in my Pathfinder 2e. So your curriculum of that rank, superscript U, indicates an uncommon spell. Oh, that's how they did it? That's
Nice.
interesting. I feel like this is, with so much love, I do feel like this is just a quick line to throw in there that would be useful to like call out in some fashion.
Superscript, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe later they like actually show it in a legend, kind of like the character sheet.
Yeah. Your GM might allow you to swap out other spells if they strongly fit the theme. So it's very, still GM decisions, and I like that a lot. School spells. School spells are a type of focus spell. It costs a focus point to cast a focus spell. You start with a focus pool of 1 focus point. So then you spend 10 minutes to refocus. This is all interesting. You learn the initial school spell, which is unique to your school, and you can learn the advanced school spell with the advanced school spell feat. So it becomes a feat. I don't know if it used to be not just automatic progression that you would have to just take that feat. School of Ars Grammatica. Do we want to take a look at this first little bit?
Do we want to? We probably don't want to read all the schools.
Let's at a glance.
So do you want to? I want to read. What I want to do is read the name of all schools.
Yeah.
So we can get an idea and then pick one to go over.
Okay. All right. So everyone can vote if you wish, or just let us know. We have the School of Ars Grammatica. We have the School of Battle Magic. And as a reminder here, can you focus on the art for me for now? Because it's no, the one right there, down.
This one?
Yeah, because it's really cool, really pretty.
I'll leave it here.
It's so cool. It looks so cool. So of these schools, I think what they talked about, I will go back to reading them in a second. I just want to make sure. Technically, we are not committed to these schools, right? That you can technically create your own school and put it together if you followed, like, you have your background story that you followed one particular, archwizard. You can sort of craft potentially your own school, I'm assuming.
I think so, yeah.
That's cool.
What I really like about these that I'm reading, which we'll get into them a little bit later, but I'm like reading them, it's how I've always built wizards, and or like even Arc. It's, you can tell they're like they lean into like earth and fire magic, or they lean into like building magic, and like it's what is your specialty? What are you good at?
I like that a lot. Okay, so voting time. School of Ars Grammatica, School of Battle Magic, School of the Boundary, School of Civic Wizardry, School of Mentalism, School of Protean Form, School of Unified Magical Theory. Of these,
Unified Magical Theory kind of sounds like
Universalist.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how about any of the other ones, and then I also will look at School of Unified Magical Theory out of sheer curiosity.
Wizard School of Hard Knocks. I like it.
School of the Magambia. I mean, it'd be sick.
I would be down to, just because I think it's normal, like it gives you a good starting place, to go School of Battle Magic.
But that's so boring.
Okay, then let's not.
Is there any particular preference? If not, I will, out of sheer curiosity, because I don't know what it is, do School of the Boundary. It sounds so... Ooh.
I also kind of like Civic Wizardry because I heard it explained. It's like
I did hear that explained as well.
It's the wizards that like help around town.
It's the wizard that's like the fireman or something, like of the town, which is very cute. All right, let's do School of the Boundary. So why use your magic to affect something as pedestrian as the physical world? Whether you studied at the College of Dimensional Studies in Katapesh, what a nice way to just like sprinkle in lore for somebody to be like, I'm going to go research this now. Or an underground school in haunted Ustalov. You've turned your magic past the universe to the forces beyond, summoning spirits and shades, manipulating dimensions and planes, and treading in a place not meant for mortals. Yo, the fact that that's a wizard school and not a like occult style is so cool.
Yeah,
so cool.
I love it. I'm like glancing at all the curriculum here, and I love how they were able to mix things for schools, because this one is very transmutation necrotic. And so like you just pick those two types of magic, the schools of magic from back in the day, and you get this curriculum, and I think it's really cool.
That is very. Oh, if it name drops the various schools, I will glance for you to see if we see.
It kind of does. Chiliax and Enderun, perhaps, or Geb and Nyx are in the schools of battle magic.
School of Mentalism is the Farseer Tower or the Stone of Seers. School of Protean Form, which also just what even cerebral. It's so cool. Storied into institutions like Kintargo's Alabaster Academy, or someplace more sinister like the Flesh Forges of Nyx. Nope. Nope, nope, nope. I do not see the Magambia listed in any of these.
I do at the very beginning. I searched it.
Oh.
Arcane School at the very beginning says most wizards acquire their knowledge from spells and formal education institution, such as the Arcanium or at the Magambia.
Okay, but it's not it's not one of the
Yeah.
suggested wizard schools that they built to. I want to go back down, Waffles, if you don't mind. I want to look at Sample Wizard, because I think that's actually a cool way to, like, see how they build it.
Where's Sample Wizard?
It is
I
right,
see.
yeah. So on the left here, so we have your magic. So just as an example, Student of the Void. So your magic summons spirits, transports you, and lets you channel the energy of other planes. You know about odd creatures in distant realms. So they talk about your attributes, which of course prioritize intelligence. Skills, Arcane School is School of the Boundary. So that's kind of interesting. So they gave Student of the Void.
Yeah, it seems so. What I'm catching here, what I really like, is it seems they're trying to push wizards back to the high intelligent scholar aspect, and so like this person is a student of the void, which gives you kind of where you would want to take your character. Like, I want to be researching this. I want to really learn about other planes and energies, and that would make my arcane school of the boundary.
Right. No, I think that makes a lot of sense. But the interesting thing is, like, Student of the Void, right? Like, that's not one that was given by any of these necessarily. No. That's just like, I want to be a student of the Void. That's what's interesting to me. And from there, I will choose the School of the Boundary as my arcane school. I think that's very cool.
Yeah.
Thesis is improved familiar attunement. I'm going to quickly search to see if Thesis is, because this is very academic for sure.
Thesis is the same. Like that's kind of wizard subclass. Did they also change arcane thesis? That's kind of what I'm wondering.
Yeah, I'm looking. There's another sample wizard down below, which is spell bending. I'm trying to see if
there's 13 matches per thesis, so I'll let you look.
Yeah, it is. It's not. Thesis is mentioned in feats. So if you go to your wizard feats, and you look at enhanced familiar on page 201, we see that, you know, your enhanced familiar, you infuse your familiar with additional magical energy. You can select 4 familiar or master abilities each day instead of 2. That's the classic enhanced familiar that we're that we're familiar with. And then there's a special, it says under it, that if your arcane thesis is improved, familiar, oh my god, I can't say familiar today. If your arcane thesis is improved familiar attunement, your familiar's base number of familiar abilities before adding any extra abilities from the arcane thesis is 4. So it sounds like it's a thing TM that you're choosing.
Oh, I got it right here. You want me to read it?
Yes.
Arcane thesis. During your studies to become a full-fledged wizard, you produced a thesis of unique magical research. You gain a special benefit depending on the topic of your thesis research. The arcane thesis topics presented in this book are below. Blah, 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 blah. Experimental spell shaping. Do we want to go into all of these theses?
No, I wanted to just make sure that we kind of talked about what exactly it is, because it wasn't at that initial piece, but it does look like, you know, as you go, you choose this. So
you have the staff nexus, which used to be universalist.
Experimental spell shaping, which you'd probably want to go to the Magambia for that.
You have spell blending, which sounds interesting. We already heard about improved familiar attunement, and then spell substitution, which is probably to like oh, I know I prepared Fireball, but I'd rather cast Greater Invisibility. Like,
I mean, Arc 2, what do you think of Staff Nexus? That I think I
that's
see
what Universalist was, so I think.
your thesis maintains that early and intense adoption of staves from the first days of study can create a symbiotic bond between spellcaster and staff. I don't think that's what Universalist was.
The only thing, let's see, during your daily preparations, you can expend one spell to grant the staff a number of charges. It's similar because you used to be able to suck spells out of your staff, and now it says you can put spells in your staff.
Interesting.
So like same in terms of mechanics.
So spell shaping is the new term for meta magic.
So like a sorcerer meta magic almost.
Gotcha.
Spell blending isn't new. Now, I've heard it before, but I'm not sure if it was a thesis.
Interesting.
Oh.
Very, very cool. And then there is another section where it talks about Arcane School again. I got it. Because I was hitting search. This is at the top of the wizard thing, not below. Understood. Cool. I think that is very, very, very well, like, it to me. Obviously some of these changes were necessary, but I love that they kind of took that on and said, let's make it make sense for us.
Yeah, it wasn't just the quick, all right, we have to change this, what do we do for it to make it work? It was, let's revamp the whole game and make it amazing.
That's appreciated. Okay, moving forward, the questions we have are looking into which familiar interactions based on their patron. I am more familiar with Witch than I am Wizard in the pre-remaster, so I would love to take a peek at that. So let's jump over to Witch.
I am on Witch.
Witch.
There's the patron right there.
It's super cool. I have a player who is also a fire blasting spellcaster, and a fire wizard is different from an ice wizard, despite both previously being evocation. Exactly. I think that it makes sense. I agree, Lenny. It is pretty art. So let's look into Witch. I think the general paragraph at the beginning is the same. You command powerful magic, all that good jazz through, but as an agent for an otherworldly patron that even you don't fully understand. So from what I heard, they did some fun relooks here. Your familiar is still your conduit. Your patron provides you the power to cast spells. You are a spellcaster, and you can cast spells of your patron's tradition using the cast a spell activity. All of that is, I think, the same. As a witch, when you cast spells, your incantations might rhyme. Your gestures might be as simple as an ominous pointing finger or a complex folk sign, and your familiar might even echo your words or movements slightly as your patron's magic surges. So let's kind of move on down. Let me glance at familiar on page 181 just to see if there's anything majorly different here. Patron has sent you a familiar, mystical creature. It's more powerful than typical familiars. All that's the same. Your familiar is the source and repository of the spells your patron has bestowed upon you, and you must commune each day. Yep. Okay. Hex spells are hex spells. Hex cantrips are still hex cantrips. Just as confusing as it was before, but it made sense eventually. I had so much fun playing Witch. But I want to look at patrons. There we go. 183. When your patron first makes contact, they reveal a little more. So again, it gives you, I'm just trying to like skim a little bit, so I apologize if I'm all over the place. Spell list, initial lesson, familiar ability. So I think that is something that they've updated in regards to the familiar ability that you get with a patron. And I think they made it much more, not just unique, but like, the vibes, what's the word?
Yep.
Flavorful. Goodness, I can't think of words today. All right, let's look at some of
Waffle
these.
flavored.
Faith's Flamekeeper. Your patron contact you in a moment. Your willpower, because this is also something that is no longer like a school. It's not that these were schools, but they were a bit more flavored. So your patron contacted you in a moment of your willpower was close to sputtering out. Their reassuring presence was like a breath and kindling, bringing an ember back aflame. Their magic giving you the strength to carry on and bring others to your cause. Your patron is likely a divine being, like an angel or an aeon, acting covertly. Though the possibility exists they might be a more sinister entity, using you to unknowing ends. I love that there's options for who your patron it can be. Yeah. Lets the GM play. That's so much fun. So that is, of course, the divine spell list. Your patron skill is religion. Lesson that you get. Lesson of fervor's grasp. Your patron has taught you that nothing can seize the heart like faith. Whether used to inspire or direct, you gain the Stoke the Heart Hex cantrip, and your familiar learns Command. Cool. Nice. I like it. Now, what does their familiar get? Familiar of Restored Spirit. Your familiar is pleasantly warm and soft, seeming to wash away worries with its mere presence. When you cast or sustain a hex, one willing creature within 15 feet of your familiar gains temporary hit points equal to 2 plus half your level, which lasts until the start of your next turn. That is so cool.
That is cool. They're like giving you reasons to cast hexes now instead of just like hurting yourself.
Yes, they, I think, very particular from what I've like heard brief mentions of, I think this was like from Gen Con, is the revisit of the witch in particular was to make the familiar feel more important than it just being a creature that you have that you could, it has the minion trait, it does great, it's more complex, it has more options than a regular familiar, but otherwise it's just a more complex familiar.
I mean, it's basically a spell book.
Yes, exactly. It's
a walking, talking spell book.
But not anymore, and I like that so much. I'm excited to see. We have not decided with Outcast and Outclassed how, if we're going to like move forward to adopt this or like how it'll look, just given the books and everything. But I'd be curious to at the very least look and see if we can find that fit for our witch. What's that?
So we're going to jump in head first.
Yes.
I got one for you from chat. A good question. Do you talk to your player about what their patron is, or do you make it a surprise to them as well?
That is all about player consent to me. So if a player enjoys like knowing behind the scenes, doesn't want to meta it, but they built their character and they said, this is what I want it to be, I'd have no issue with that. I think as a GM, for me, I like my players to give me the daggers they want me to stab them with. And what I mean by that is not telling me what your patron is, but if you don't want to know, tell me, and so that I can have some fun.
Yeah, I'm kind of the opposite. Of course, again, with player consent, but I want someone to bring me as fleshed out of a patron as they want, and then I add more.
Right.
That they don't know.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I think the way these have been worded, it'll be a lot more open-ended. I don't think it was as open-ended previously, because so we'll talk with Taliatia of the Sojourning Song, the character in our show Outcast and Outclassed. We know now, right, that it's a Norn. Her patron is a Norn. I won't give spoilers right now, but that so much is known. And so did they tell me for it to be a Norn? No, they didn't. I did kind of make that decision myself, but they gave me the relatively specific, if you ask me, lesson and patron that they chose. And I feel like it was relatively limited what I could do, especially when you look at like Fate and be like, well, this is one of the main powerful people that involve Fate, so yeah, let's make it a Norn.
Yeah.
All right. Oh man, I don't want to give too many of these away, but I am
Right, we can't go over all the familiar.
Okay, hold on. Let's do the same thing as a wizard. I want at least one more, so I'm gonna read them out loud, and you can stay on that page there.
Oh, we didn't even do the second one for the wizard. I say let's go to Sample Witch, the Hedge Witch.
But I want to know
I know
more.
you do. We gotta move.
Hold on. Can I just do Spinner of Threads? Can I
Yeah.
just do Spinner of Threads? Okay, because this is gonna be relevant. You met your patron in a memory of an encounter yet to come, or a premonition of something long since past. As they untangled and respun the tapestry of time and fate, was your patron a Norn, a herald of a deity like Pharasma, Ulceta, or Grandmother Spider? Could it even be a single individual appearing at 3 or more points in its timeline, multiple versions of the same being, parallel threads converging on a single moment? I love it. They really did such a good job of that opening paragraph, giving you so much thread for character building.
It's Tau.
It does, yeah. Well, that's why I went with that one.
Yeah. Was your patron a Norn? Yes.
I think this is the equivalent of the one that they respun, if you will. Spellist occult, patron skill occultism, lesson of fates, vicissitudes.
Nudge Fate still.
Yep, it's still nudge fate.
Sure Strike. I assume that's True Strike.
But I'm curious about the familiar's flavor here. So, familiar of balanced luck. Whew. Your familiar, I'm such a sucker for witch, y'all. All right, your familiar has a spot on its body that looks like a good luck charm or a bad omen, depending on the angle. When you cast or sustain a hex, one creature within 15 feet of your familiar gets your choice of either a +1 status bonus to its AC or a -1 status bonus penalty to its AC until the start of your next turn. Okay.
So they're really leaning into hexes now. Like they really want the witches to cast hexes. Like it makes sense.
It's what
to
makes
cast
a
them
witch
almost
special.
every turn now.
Yeah, I feel like it's what makes a witch special. Well, because
Yeah.
when you look at the witch, like prior, again, pre-remaster, the hexes do have the rule of you can only do 1 hex per turn.
Yep.
And that didn't make it feel, just from reading that kind of rule, to me playing a witch at the time was like, well, clearly these are like what makes me special. I want to get as many of these out there, but it, aside from that, wasn't incentivized, and they really did a good job incentivizing it.
Yeah,
here.
you used to run into the take Spinner of Threads, for instance. You used Nudge Fate's not something I really want to cast every turn. Like honestly, that's the one that takes a success to a critical or a failure to a success by 1.
But when it's by 1, I mean, when does that happen?
Yeah. So you definitely don't want to be doing it every turn. But now if you get a +1, -1 AC every time,
It's solid.
you just sit here and poke it on every single teammate.
I like it. Amazing. Okay. Let's see. Also curious if the witch dedication will also grant familiar interactions. That's a wonderful question.
It's multi-class.
That is. Let's go to the... I will have to jump down, I believe, to Archetypes. And we'll go to Witch Archetype. And... So...
I'm not quite sure where you are. I'm trying to find it.
So I just went to the bookmarks on the right. It is page 222. 222. 222. Which archetype you have heard? I'll just start reading, but take your time.
I'm there.
Cool. You have heard the whispers of a distant patron who sent an emissary to teach you powerful magic. Okay, that's how they sort of describe how you get the archetype. The witch archetype grants versatile prepared spells, perfect for characters looking to add some extra utility. So you cast spells like a witch, choose a patron. You gain a familiar with 2 common cantrips of your choice from your chosen patron's tradition, but aside from the tradition, you don't gain any other effects the patron would usually grant. Your familiar gains the normal number of abilities for a familiar instead of those of a witch's familiar, those a witch familiar normally gets.
Yeah. I think
So it looks like no.
get 4 all the time. So yeah, it looks like
Not initially, anyways.
not initially. It looks like a lot of these are witch spellcrafting, witchcraft, witch your feats.
Yeah, I'm looking to see you gain the spellcasting benefits. Two common spells of that rank to your familiar. It's kind of back to being a um spell book of a kind. But is there at any point, I'm just glancing through.
Not that I see, unless you take a. I assume you would have to take basic witchcraft as your second one and take a witch feat that furthers your familiar.
No, but still, the biggest part for me is that when you, in classic witch, like not archetype, but if that's your class, you get that additional familiar ability when you choose your patron.
Yes.
And nothing is giving that in the end if you archetype into it.
No.
Okay, cool. Interesting.
It does not look like it. You're like a fourth witch.
Yeah, I feel like that only really, that to me it feels like the witch archetype, all that really does is like, here's more spell casting versatility, but not a lot of the flavor of a witch.
Yeah, exactly. Here's a familiar and a little more spell casting.
Yeah, I do. So what I like to think of when it comes to archetypes, because this is something that's been the way I create my characters in specifically Pathfinder2e, since I've kind of like shifted mindsets, because I always tried to do it with D&D and never really felt that match, but I've been able to do it a lot more. I don't view multiclassing. Again, I know it's not called multiclassing in this case anymore, which I prefer, but I always viewed multiclassing as like confusing to me when it came with D&D, and it was because you're not just both those classes. And so I do understand that when it comes to Pathfinder, your class is your flavor of your character, and multiclassing into something else would not be so much. It can add flavor, but it's not the core flavor of your character. Like, it doesn't suddenly like, now I'm also a witch. I view it very much like over time this got added to my repertoire. I was not always a witch, so it kind of makes sense. At least I try to make it make sense in my head.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah. I don't think you'd ever wizard into witch. Probably not.
Wizard into a witch to get divine spells so you can cast heal. That'd be interesting, but like you have all the battle medicines in the world and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I can see though, because like, you know, multiclassing into witch or archetype is like, you heard the whispers of a distant patron who sent an emissary to teach you powerful magic. So maybe it was kind of like a secret deal with an angel or some other kind of deity that gives you divine. I think that makes a pretty cool character story.
Yeah, I think, yes, I think you could do witch or oracle, anything, and make it a very, very good character.
That's fair. Okay, more questions. And don't forget in chat if you all have questions. I'm not, I'm going off of the pre-questions we got from the Breakfast Club, but I'm happy to jump around within where we are or elsewhere as well. Grab that this little pact binder and have a great time. There we go. I think they covered a lot of the basics with cleric. So I heard a rumor. We love rumors about bard and rogue weapon proficiencies changing to grant them martial is what I believe that was supposed to be weapon. I would
those marital weapons.
Those marital weapons, man. I heard a rumor about bard and rogue weapon proficiencies. We want to take a look at weapon proficiencies at all, but if it's true, how is warrior, muse, bard changing? Waffles, where would we go to start with that one?
Bard.
Board. Got it.
Okay, I'm going to Bard.
Okay. What gave Paizo the right to make Scare the Dead level 2 cleric feat so much fun? We'll have I'm taking that as a very serious question in chat that we'll look at in a second.
We have to get to the bottom.
We have to. All right, a muse. has called you to dabble in occult lore, allowing you to cast a few spells. The deeper you delve, the more powerful your performances become. I love that. So, Waffles, I'm gonna let you take this one.
Okay, so that's class features probably. I am holding my push to talk, so I'm scrolling in and out. Sorry.
A-okay.
All right, so you have Enigma, Maestro, Polymath, Warrior. I'm pretty sure those are all exactly the same as they used to be. We want to take a look at Warrior, correct?
I believe so.
So the battlefield's your stage, the Clang of Steel, your song. If your muse is a creature, it might be otherworldly soldier, such as an Archon or a devil soldier. If it's a deity, it might be Gorum. Art inspired by a warrior muse is triumphant and strident, often detailing epic battles. Muse feat, you get martial performance. So we'll go check that feat out because that might give you,
That might be what we're talking about.
you know, and then everything, Muse spell, you get fear. Everything else kind of looks the same. I'll jump down to Bard feats real quick.
Unfortunately, Waffles, it is martial performance, not marital performance. So it's not right, actually. It's not what we're talking about.
Martial performance. Your muse has taught you how to handle a wider variety of weapons than most, empowering you to effortlessly blend your performance into combat tools. When you have a courageous anthem composition cantrip active, and oh man, I just lost everything. And you damage an enemy with a strike, the spell's duration is extended by 1. Okay, so
One
basically round. 1 round. So basically, if you're fighting, you can probably keep your performance up forever, which is kind of cool.
Interesting though, but that's not weapon proficiencies. Let me take a quick glance, see if it talks about weapon proficiencies.
Yeah, I was going back up to like the real classes.
Yeah. Spellcasting. Okay, so initial proficiencies.
You are trained in martial weapons.
Trained in martial weapons, yeah, absolutely. Cool. So, okay, so let me reread the question. So the rumor about Bard and Rogue weapon proficiency changing to grant them marital weapons. I might be wrong on the Bard. Fumu, by the way, I do know, I want you to know this is still editable. But I do want you to keep it as marital. If it is true, how is Warrior and Muse Bard changing? Okay, so it looks like the whole class has, not just Warrior, has marital weapons. So I don't know. It's just now my brain just wants to read that, by the way.
I mean, Fumu said, I wand my wedding lance. So
it just keeps getting worse. I love it. Okay. So Fumu, looking at what we're looking at here, is there anything particular you want us to look at? Because I'm less familiar with how bards were personally, unfortunately. So is there, aside from the proficiency, are you looking to see if anything else specifically has changed? That'd be kind of what I'm looking for.
Yeah, what I saw off the top is proficiency in martial weapons changed, and it looks like all of the performances, I don't know if they were all here already, they probably added some, but all the performances now have like better interactions with a specific type of bard.
Yeah. And before it was specific weapons, like a specific list only, and not just all martial.
They were like, you can use a rapier.
Yeah. War Muse now gets the martial performance feat that gives them extended courageous assault for 1 round on a successful strike.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. For wizard stuff, I think we probably talked about this already. But specifically looking at certain feats and how they operate with the changes. Do you want to jump back down there just to look at any of the wizard feats out of sheer curiosity? I think we can do that quickly.
Yeah, I'm down to look at like Bespell Weapon. If it's even here. There's Bespell Strikes now. Bespell Weapon.
Taking a look.
Making sure there's not a Bespell Weapon. It doesn't look like it. Alright, so Bespell Strikes is... Yeah, it might be the new name. It's a free action once per turn. Your most recent action was to cast a non-cantrip spell. You siphon spell energy into one weapon you're wielding or into one of your unarmed attacks, such as a fist. Until the end of your turn, the weapon unarmed deals 1d6 force damage and gains the arcane trait if it didn't have it already. Let's see. If the spell dealt a different type of damage, the strike deals this type of damage instead, or one type of your choice if it can deal multiple. Yeah, they just very simplified it. It's force and or if you did fire, fire. If you did lightning, lightning.
James. Thanks for the raid, y'all.
I mean, to answer that, James, they actually made out pretty well with this remaster.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Don't get them started on the puns. I know they won't be tackling Magus yet. I don't believe there's any mention of that either.
Rip.
I am desperate to know about 1 Magus, 2 any Ruin Lord stuff, because obviously that has to change in its entirety, which makes sense. But Waffles and I now, partially because of Arc 2 as the character, but also even way before that, have loved Rune Lord lore, and all about it. So like, I want that so badly to learn what's gonna happen.
Same. I said, hear me out. Can I say this?
I don't know what you're gonna say.
It's what we talked about in the car that one time, and so like.
Nah, secrets.
No, yeah, okay.
Fair. So what else? Barbarian or Ranger changes. So we actually don't have those here. Oh, we have Ranger. My bad.
We don't have Barbarian.
There's no Barbarian. Yeah.
Barbarian is not changed whatsoever.
Is in Player Core 2. Got it.
They don't like Barbarians. Honestly.
I have not seen the Pathfinder Society changes regarding Rune Lords. So we're making spelling mistakes and speaking mistakes today. Do you want to link us? I would not mind. I don't know if you can link in chat.
Here, because I have my own thoughts on how Paizo should do it.
Yeah. It's a boon redeem, but for the remaster, the archetype is being completely locked out. Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Okay. That's kind of.
I mean, it is so entrenched.
They have to get rid of them because they're getting rid of the schools of magic.
But yeah, there's no way to do it as is. But for any of the listen, for any of the Paizo folk that, you know, freelance writers and beyond that are maybe watching or in chat right now, we'll talk offline because Waffles and I have so many ideas. But let's keep going with these questions.
Yeah. I mean, we can peek in the Ranger if you want to.
I'm down. I'm not a peek into Ranger. Problem is again, I'm less familiar, so harder for me to compare to find those changes. But if I'm
fairly familiar with Ranger because of our first campaign.
Oh yeah.
I don't know things they're trained in. I assume they're usually trained in medium armor, martial weapons. Looks pretty normal there. Just quickly scrolling through. You still have Flurry, Outwit. You're talented at outwitting your prey. Gain a +1 circumstance bonus to your prey's attacks and a +2 bonus to deception.
Ranger is pretty changed, says James, but look at their new terrain class feature regarding off guard. That'd be cool.
Okay.
All right. Terrain.
I cannot find it, so I shall search. Search off guard. Nope. There's so many uses of off guard and terrain in this whole book.
Favored terrain. I'm looking at that.
Nature's Edge. Okay. Oh, it's a class feature called Nature's Edge.
Yeah, Waffles. Gosh.
Level 9.
Ooh.
Oh, I found it. So you always find the weak points in your foe's defenses when they're on unfavorable terrain. Enemies are off guard to you if they're in difficult terrain.
Ooh.
That is pretty cool because I know it never comes up in a lot of campaigns or anything, but Rangers are. Then it really goes great with Unimpeded Journey. Yeah. Rangers are like predominantly good at not having to deal with difficult terrain, but most GMs kind of just like hand wave difficult terrain a lot of times.
Yeah.
So that would be really cool to have like everyone off guard if they're in difficult terrain.
I haven't had a chance to look at how they've changed snares yet. Let me see if there's anything in particular. There is just, I mean, I'm looking at like the feats in general. Ooh, I'm just looking at art now. Never mind, ignore me. It's so pretty. There is, I mean, there's snare crafting. There's all these general skill feats.
Yeah, since they're an item, I think much like the chat is changing or saying they're not in the GMC or the PC one. They're not in these core releases.
I mean, the only thing I'm seeing, because I'm searching in this case the PDF about snares, and there's just the crafting skill feats of snare crafting. That's really it.
Yeah.
So if you look, there's a. This is interesting. What is this? Oh, okay. So in the very beginning of classes, like introduction class summaries, it talks. I mean, that's the only other mention of snares. So yeah.
I don't think there's much about it right now.
Interesting. Oh, actually, okay, really quick. Can you, Waffles, go to page 93 for me?
No.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah, we're there.
Okay. I just think this is so lovely. I was just talking about the Iconics. They put so much hard work into it. And in these sort of very quick class summaries, they mention the Iconics now, with their little pictures, and I love it. I think it's so cool and a good way to keep that world building going.
I agree.
I like it. I just want to show that off because it's cool. Let's see. Upvote for how magic classification works now, along with any changes to rogues. Brandon would like a look at the rogues.
Okay. Rogues?
And then I want to not forget this. I'll say it out loud to you, Waffles. There's mention in like off guard and some of those like little changes to
basically.
Yeah, maybe what we can do after we finish with the glancing at the classes, we can take a quick look at any of maybe like the glossary or other areas where that might mention. I think
those are going to be the GM core, honestly.
Probably. Cool. So let's look at rogue.
You still have a rogue's racket. Mastermind, Ruffian, Scoundrel. They might have changed these slightly. I'm not going to read through all of them to see what they changed.
What are these?
The rackets, the mastermind. So you can be like a mastermind rogue, a ruffian rogue, a scoundrel rogue.
Those are all sound very much the same to me, at least in name.
Okay.
Did they do any other?
Yeah, they're just different types of rogues you can be. Where the scoundrel might go into diplomatic relations, and ruffian is more like a.
That's what I'm looking at as well. Sorry, not to cut you off, Waffles. The mastermind, ruffian, and scoundrel, and thief. I feel like were all they existed. Those were there. What I don't see is Eldritch Trickster.
I agree. It looks like they took that away.
That is fascinating.
It does make you underpowered, in my opinion, having seen it played once.
Doesn't it? Okay, here's my thought. And you know, don't yell at me in chat. I've always viewed that as basically multiclassing. So wouldn't it make sense if you wanted that to archetype?
Kind of what James is saying. It broke a lot of things because it doesn't give you a way to make things off guard.
Ah, I'm being yelled at.
A based is good.
I know. But it was in caps lock, and therefore I'm being yelled at.
You're being goodly yelled at.
Perfect. So that is interesting. And I know Brandon was very much looking into magical trickstery based things. So I'm curious. I want to glance a bit at archetypes a bit more. I know we did a little bit of it, but I'm wondering how they do it with Wizard as well with all of this. I'm gonna feel free, Waffles, keep looking at whatever you like. I am briefly skimming some of the archetypes out of curiosity if there's anything like that stands out to me.
Tell me where your skimmings are. Peeps can follow along.
Yeah, so I'm just going down to the archetypes and the bookmarks and then going down to Wizard specifically right now.
Okay. I am there.
Multiclass wizard characters grant versatile prepared spells, perfect for characters looking to add some extra utility, which is exactly the same line as for witch. But you cast spells like a wizard, getting a spell book. Okay, one of the things, the reason I'm looking at this in particular is when we're playing through Strength of Thousands, part of it is you get that free archetype of either druid or wizard, basically for studying at the Magambia. And most of the Ono crew, 3 out of 4 picked wizard, because it does make sense in one facet of like, I'm studying at school, I'm gonna study this classical like way of getting spells. And I remember it being very complicated to add when you are other like spellcasters and things like that, and it wasn't necessarily the most ideal. So given the way that they're doing schools now, I was just curious. So you gain a spell book, 4 common arcane cantrips, you gain cast a spell activity, prepare 2 each day, so all this is the same. You trained in the spell attack modifier, spell DC statistics. Your key spellcasting attribute for wizard is intelligence. They're arcane wizard spells. You become trained in arcana. Blah, blah, blah.
It looks exactly the same to me.
It says select a school. You don't gain any abilities from your choice of school, but qualify for feats as a member.
Yep.
But then feat 4 is school spell. Okay. Interesting. So it is very much the same, but it might be a little bit easier to go for, because again, studying at the Magambia, wanting to flavor it as just I'm learning what the Magambia is teaching me, nobody wanted to specify I'm gonna do evocation or something like that.
Yeah.
And now you don't have to, which I actually kind of like.
Yeah, you just have to pick a different school. Like, I want to help out civilians, so I'm gonna be in the civil school.
Yeah. Funny enough, I modified my version to allow the school to handle all types of magic, so you can choose any spellcasting archetype. And that makes a lot of sense. And for those, some folks did Universalist. Waffles, you did Universalist, right?
I wanted to.
And we're started doing.
I've played a Universalist before, but it did not work picking an archetype.
Yeah. I completely agree. I kind of love that schools are out the window. We always, anytime I play a spellcaster, and this might be me, again, I am not a classic, I don't come from the classic D&D history, so it's, no harm, no foul for me personally, but I always picked any of my spells based off of my character. Like their personality, their story, like even if they were an occult witch, I'm gonna be like, does she do spooky or does she do, other things? I always pick it off of that.
That's how I've always been too. That's why Arc is literally like started out minus all non-spoilers story, what's happening with the runes and everything. Started out as lightning and enhance magic. Like enhance his body and do lightning magic.
Yup. Can we see the arcane school spell feat? Yes, of course we can.
Right here. It doesn't really say much. It says you gain your school's initial school spell. If you don't already have one, you gain a focus pool of 1 focus point, which you can refocus by studying.
Yeah, you still kind of have a school, but the school's being redefined, not schools of magic, but schools of little schools, or however. So
yeah, you have to pick like the civil school or the boundary school, and then you get that spell and stuff.
You are correct, Waffles, though, that I did not finish reading uh, the arcane schools. No, I know we weren't going to do all of them, but I did mean to talk about the equivalent of Universalist. Do we want to just take a look at that because we were just talking about
Yeah,
the overarching
I'm there.
Magambia stuff? Okay,
Actually, hold on.
I'm holding.
Oh, never mind. Okay. Sorry. I saw something down there that said no curriculum, but I realized that is part of the School of Unified Magic. Sorry.
Yes. So, School of Unified Magical Theory, you eschew the idea that magic can be neatly expressed by the teachings of any single school or college, instead directing your self-study to pick up the best of every school of magic. In doing so, I will say that continuing to use the terminology every school of magic may be confusing to some people, but I think it obviously is the best word in this case. In doing so, you'll find the truths that lie at the intersection of each school, coming closer to the ideal nature of arcane magic. One day, you'll uncover that single elegant theory detailing all magic, perhaps a theory bearing your name. But until then, your studies continue. No curriculum, exactly what you were saying. You don't have a set curriculum, and so you don't have curriculum spells and can't benefit. Interesting, and can't benefit from abilities that specifically affect them. Instead, you gain an additional first level wizard class feat, and you add one first rank spell of your choice to your spell book to represent your diverse studies.
Yep.
Your studies into the very nature of magic itself have let you use it more efficiently. Instead of using drain bonded item only once per day, you can use it once per day for each rank of spell you can cast. Okay, so this is yes, very similar to some of what Universalists can do. So what I was originally going to say was that, so if you don't necessarily align with any of the schools that are currently listed, obviously in the player guide, and you wanted to, let's say, drop out curriculum 1, I agree. And let's say you wanted to be like, okay, I'm at the Magambia. What's the Magambia, curriculum, so to speak? I was going to initially say that you could just utilize this as a sort of free form. But very interestingly, it's not, and I actually respect that.
Yeah.
It's not a create your own. It is a I don't want to be put into a box school.
Yep. So I study everything. The jack of all trades instead of the specialist.
Right. And then so what that kind of also would then mean is if I was the GM for the Magambia, storyline and you wanted to do that, I would probably need to make my own curriculum, though.
Probably. But I think with how they have it set up, like it would have been nearly impossible to develop a new magical school, like evocation, enchantment. Like, where are you going to put anything in all of those? They have everything covered. But I feel like with these new specific curriculums, like, it's going to be so easy to homebrew.
Yeah, it is very open to homebrew. What is I was thinking about how it would look, though. Like, I wouldn't want to make one curriculum for everybody's archetyping into wizard for Strength of Thousands, for example. I think that would be very boring if most of the players had the same spells.
Yeah. You would actually, like, unfortunately, I think it would come down to making a curriculum for each player.
And that feels like a lot. So I guess I haven't, felt this out yet, first time looking at it, but I'd be curious if it was something that you could leave relatively open. And if you said, like, tell me, because you take it one at a time. So when it comes to, like, first level spells, be like, what would your character be interested in learning?
Yeah.
And that you would make sense that would be learned in a school. And then, like, kind of let them pick. And I wonder if you could just go one by one. It's interesting.
The only interesting thing I will say is I could have taken this Universalist, this
School of Unified Magical Theory?
School of Unified Magic as art.
Yeah.
Because it does have a school spell.
Correct.
And that's why I couldn't take the other one. Because
that makes sense.
I was like hampering myself.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I appreciate that they kind of fixed that, so to speak. I would like an alternative focus spell for Hand of the Apprentice.
If I remember correctly, Hand of the Apprentice is so goofy. Do you remember that Viking game we played?
No.
With Nat. with Nat 20 Productions. It was like Cold Vikings and stuff. Anyway, I had a little goblin character that what they did was throw this huge axe around. And it was just Hand of the Apprentice. He was a Universalist wizard.
Can you go page 388? We'll take a look at Hand of the Apprentice.
If it's what I think it is.
Yeah, you take advantage of one of the most fundamental lessons of magic to levitate and propel your weapon. You hurl a held melee weapon with which you are trained at the target, making a spell attack roll. On a success, you deal with the weapon's damage as if you had hit with a melee strike, but add your spellcasting attribute modifier to damage rather than your strength modifier.
Yep.
I kind of agree, though, that why would that be unified magical theory?
I agree as well. It's a goofy spell.
It's almost like the one that didn't fit anywhere else. It's what it's kind of feeling like. From memory, doesn't the school have branches of study? You could do... Ooh.
Oh, yeah. Do like a water bearer's branch or curriculum.
Oh.
Or cascade bearer.
Cascade bearer. And then... I need to do this now. I'm going to make a note because I like that.
Yeah, make a note. I'll do it for you.
Cool.
Or we'll work on it together.
All right, so.
I do want to interrupt real quick.
Yeah.
I am just very happy they put all these focus spells in one spot. So like you can just scroll down as wizard school spells. Here's the Ars Grammatica. Here's the battle magic. Here's the boundary. Like,
yeah, it is organized very neatly and nicely. And that's something that you can do when you've made everything and then are reorganizing things, for print. So that's very nice. Okay, so we took a little bit of a look at rogues. Before we jump to the GM core, Demi Luna wanted to know how mixed ancestry works. And that is definitely something that we have a lot of new things for. So we go to character creation, and let's do versatile heritages, I believe is what is being referred to.
Sure. I'm there. Not character creation. I'm in ancestries and backgrounds, versatile heritage, but
Yeah. So actually, I think I'm in a different thing than you. Hold on. Select an ancestry. Blah blah blah. Where are we? What page are you?
74.
Oh, that's very different. There it is. Thank you. Oh my God, who are they? They're amazing. Can we look at this art real quick?
Yeah.
I literally just saw this for the first time and I'm in love. They're so
Nephilim.
cool. They are Nephilim. That's awesome. Yeah, you gotta look at the hooves. All right, so let's see. Unlimited possibilities. I'll just read this call out first.
Yeah.
Though a character can have only one heritage and one lineage feat, the possible permutations of a character's background and family tree are virtually unlimited. Nope, you're not gonna get me.
My brain broke on that one too. I think it's Ayuvarin. I could see Ayuvarin.
Character might still have a changeling parent whose nature is visible in the coloration of their eyes, even if they don't have access to changeling ancestry feats. And a pit-born dwarf might very well have an ancestor with fey influences on their bloodline, reflected with a fey muse or patron gained through their class alongside their ancestral fiendishness. That's amazing.
It's basically saying you can be the biggest melting pot you want, and it's valid now.
It is kind of my favorite thing so far.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie. So playing a versatile heritage, and I do like that in that unlimited possibility call out, they're just saying like you can still flavor things and or find other areas of mechanics of your class to show off. Like, it's not just flavor, right? Like, yes, you can flavor things. You can have, like, kind of changing eyes or something like that. But also, if you want to represent some of that, multiple areas of your ancestry, do it in how it comes out in your class or something like that. And I appreciate kind of, it's not hand-holding, but I appreciate that, like, guiding hand because I wouldn't have necessarily thought about that, but I think it would feel like a very wholesome character if I did that. Hot take. I know Paizo's position on pronunciation guides, but I really wish they would add them anyway.
I mean, hear me out. I want a stream of Jason Bowman just trying to pronounce every hard word.
Yes, Jason Mulvin.
That's the pronunciation guy.
Let's do it. We'll interview you, Jason Mulvin. Please, please. Let's interview you, and I promise that that won't be what happens. But I also promise that is exactly what will be what happens. We'll just come at you with a list. It'll be great. Anyways, playing a versatile heritage, all that stuff is great. I want to look at, let's kind of skip to lineage feats. So some ancestry feats within a versatile heritage have the lineage trait. Let's look at that. These feats specify a physiological lineage your character has, such as the type of hag that birthed a changeling character, or the type of extraplanar entity that influenced a Nephilim's birth. You can have only one lineage feat. You can select such a feat only at first level, and you can't retrain into or out of this feat. That is very interesting.
That is, I grew up like this, you're stuck like this, get wrecked.
Well, I appreciate that because I have sort of had that happen. Now, again, I play that way anyways.
Yeah.
But maybe this, I don't know your youngin slang, James. I don't know if this is a based take or like the reverse of that, but I'm so old. That made me feel old. But I do kind of like that that's in the rules now, because I don't like that somebody else can then just like change something that was, their lineage.
I know I had dark vision at level 1, but I don't anymore.
Yeah. I mean, listen, you give me a creative way of reason in character that happened to you because of X, Y, or Z, I will always let that happen as a GM, but not just because.
Arcs and Android got hit really hard. So I just scrambled some stuff.
So what are you now?
I'm still an Android, but I no longer have nanites at all.
Oh, okay, got it.
So it looks like they put 3 kinds of versatile heritage, like very specifically in the book, but you can still play more, obviously.
Yeah, so this book includes only 3. Changeling. Okay, we say only 3. Only. But let's take a quick look, though, at planar scions, because I don't think that's just 1. Life is present everywhere across the planes of the multiverse, and the intermingling of mortals from the universe with extraplanar energy is no rare thing. Whether their origins are from a direct physical relationship between a mortal and an extraplanar being, or from some other infusion of extraplanar energy, mortals who carry the power of another plane are known as planar scions. There are numerous types of planar scions, just as there are countless types of beings across the planes whose power might be shared with a mortal. This book focuses on Nephilim. It's so hard for me to say it in like American accent. Nephilim. Anyways, planar scions from planes strongly associated with concepts of good, evil, order, or dissolution, and presents lineages associated with fiendish and celestial beings.
Order or dissolution? Is that law and chaos?
Yes.
Okay, I like it.
So important classification here. So like I said, yes, there are many planar scions, and this is one category called Nephilim, but technically, from what it used to be to now, that is a multitude of options in and of itself. Because it can be celestial, it could be fiendish, it could be good. It could be chaos and order, basically, or dissolution and order.
Yeah, it probably tells you how to later. I see, I can click on Nephilim or Changeling.
Yeah, let me look at mixed ancestry heritages, because that specifically was what Demiluna's question was, and then we'll just kind of skip down to that. Galarian has numerous metropolises. I don't know why that confused my brain, where people from a wide variety of ancestries intermingle. Moreover, adventurers of all backgrounds and ancestries often find themselves thrust together and discover that from adversity can come common ground and even love. As a result, the world is full of people whose bloodlines can be traced to at least 2 different ancestries. The most common example of this are Ayurvarians. Oh my god, somebody help. Ayurvarians and Dromars, who have elf and orc ancestries, respectively.
Hold on. I have to stop you. It's actually Dromars.
Thank you so much for that addition.
Aaron. So
Okay, Aaron, great. While all known Dromars and Iuverans in the Inner Sea share human as the other part of their origin, it's possible that other combinations could exist. This section also describes how to create a custom mixed ancestry heritage when creating your own world. Okay, that's what I want to look at.
okay, that's where I was. So I'll click there again.
Okay, we're gonna
Down at page.
just so that we're not showing everything, we will skip Changeling. Let's look at Nephilim. Or do you want to?
I was going straight to mixed ancestry.
Okay, let's do that. That's totally fine. You can choose a mixed ancestry to represent having 2 ancestral lines for your character. This doesn't preclude having more than 2 ancestries in your genealogy, but you'll have to work with your GM if you want to have more than 2 reflected in the rules. The possible combinations of ancestries are immeasurable, etc., etc. So, work with your GM is the main headline here. Custom mixed ancestry is going to be uncommon. Choose an ancestry to tie to the heritage. Gain any traits of that ancestry and a new trait for your combined ancestry. Similar to how the Iuveran heritage below grants elf and Iuveran traits, you also gain low light vision if the ancestry tied to the heritage has low light vision or dark vision. The heritage lets you select ancestry feats for the chosen ancestry in addition to those from your base ancestry. Let's look at the example.
I like it a lot because I've done this in one game and I let my players do it a lot, to the fact of like, oh, you want to be a dwarf goblin? Like
Right.
they didn't have rules for that, but I'm gonna like, you can be a dwarf with low light vision and or a goblin with martial weapon proficiency, like blah blah, not martial weapon proficiency because that's class, but like
Sure.
they basically put what has been done in homebrew games into words.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's always something that I've wanted to embrace, and I really like that they kind of just gave the rules for it. So I'm trying to look at like the specific example because I don't want to read all of this. So Iuveran feats, in addition to feats from the elf ancestry, the following feats are available to Iuveran characters. So I guess this would be because compared to custom mixed heritage, because I'm not just reading the Iuveran feat, I want to see how it would work. So did I understand this correctly, Waffles, from your understanding? The specific feats of this new custom mixed heritage is almost basically just homebrew. Like you would make your own version of this.
Kinda. So I don't think you would really make your own version of this. You would, so like say they basically put into written rules, because elf, Iuveran, blah blah blah, is what this class is. But they basically put into written rules that you can be like goblin, dwarf.
Right, but
and then you can pick from both.
Right. From what I read, let me find it again. You choose an ancestry to tie to the heritage. You gain any traits of that ancestry, right? And a new trait for your combined ancestry, similar to how the Iuveran heritage below grants the elf and Iuveran traits. So Iuveran are elves and another ancestry. The Iuveran is the mix.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I understand.
So that's where I'm trying to figure out, like, what is that Iuveran trait?
What do you mean the Iuveran trait?
That's what it says. Similar to how the Iuveran heritage below grants the elf and Iuveran traits.
Oh, it's just
it's the trait.
It's a trait.
Okay. So
And
you just
that probably says something about you, but
okay, gotcha.
a lot of times, like, I'm not gonna go too deep into it, but a lot of times there'll be places in Galarian that's like acts differently if you have a certain trait or something.
Got it. Makes sense. Okay, so they have custom feats for Iuveran here, but you would, if I wanted to make my custom, I would probably mix and match from the feats available from each of them. Is that how that would go?
I think so. That's what I'm getting, at least.
Yeah, the Iuveran and Dramar heritages both have special feats, but a custom heritage will need you to work with your GM to create or adapt some. Okay.
Yeah.
So homebrew is what I was saying.
What I'm understanding is Ivern is elves and something.
And other.
And elves and other.
And Dramars are orcs and other.
Dramars are orcs and other. And then the Nephilim are more like the planar entities and other. Question mark.
What was the last one?
Nephilim is more like the planar entities and other.
Yes. So let me...
So like celestial angels or...
So Nephilim are heritages.
Yeah.
So you could technically be...
Just a Nephilim?
Well, you could be a human Nephilim or something like that, but you could be an Ayuvaran Nephilim too.
Okay.
Because it's wait.
Yeah, no, that's just two heritages though.
TBD. You'll have it's gonna be too much for right now, so we'll have to dive into it.
Make it work.
I'm sure we can make it all work. I will say though, the art of some of these Nephilim is badass. It's so cool.
Yep.
Okay. I think that's a lot of the player core. But I wonder what we can really glance through for the GM core. Aside from show off the amazing art. Nothing ever. I'm looking through. Does anybody have any questions specifically on GM core stuff? I would love to see.
There are also not snares in here. We had one question, right?
I don't recall.
Somebody asked earlier, and we were like, that's probably in the GM core.
Oh, I was just looking specifically at some of the new...
like the... Not the traits, but like the statuses.
Yeah.
Your camera's blurry, by the way.
Oh, no. Thanks. I'll just do this. There we go.
No.
It's my face.
I'm looking for them, but I can't find them.
Taking a look.
Let's go to the table of contents.
Subsystems. I'm curious if there's anything new. Ooh. Waffles, has there always been victory points?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a different way to play the game.
Cool.
A little more gamified way to play the game.
That's totes valid. I know you said it would be in GM core, but I do actually think that would be in the player core. I'm gonna look real quick at
they have like characters with disabilities.
Yeah, there's a lot of really cool stuff. The way you want to pull that out, there's a really cool in terms of items and stuff like that, how they handled assisted items, things like that. Let me find it actually.
I'm on page 22.
I actually did not fully read all of this. I didn't realize what they included in special considerations. This whole section.
What whole section?
Page 21, characters with disabilities, but also like above it, player needs. This is gonna my heart.
Sensory differences.
Sensory differences. Like I just read that and I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, some players remain more engaged if they have something else to do while playing, such as doodling or pacing.
Like in our current, spheres, that is something that we all are very well aware of and very open to, and we have those conversations and safety tools to apply them. But I think it is so meaningful that like anybody who grabs the GM book, the core, the GM core, and is like, I want to do this for the first time, whether or not they're aware of, what we are aware of, it's here in the book. I love that so much. A player might want to create a character with a disability, or their character might end up with a disability over the course of play. Work with a player to find what ways to respectfully represent the disability. Conditions such as blinded and deafened aren't a good fit for a character who's been living with a disability long term. That makes very much sense. Here are suggestions for rules you might use for PCs with disabilities. I laughed because I was just thinking of like if there is a blind character that gets blinded and they're like, yes, and.
Yeah, I like how I do like, because like being blinded or being deafened for the condition is rough, and
Right.
it's supposed to be because you're not used to it. But this is saying if you're used to it, this is what should happen. And a lot of what this is saying makes sense. Like you take a slight deficit, but you can play a hero that's
Yeah.
blind or deaf.
Well, they actually specify on blindness or impaired vision, right? Like, they can't be dazzled, immune to visual effects, and you can give the character the blind fight feat for free, which I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
And then here's the penalty for perception checks. But on the other hand, you could do corrective devices to, on the other hand, like can't counteract that or cancel it entirely.
Yeah, I like the deafness or hard of hearing, mostly because of my like tinnitus and stuff. But these disabilities. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was thinking that we do it without so much, nothing so specific as this, but we should look into for Arc 2 because of more sensory sensitivities and the way you're representing your autism through him. We could make it more mechanical rather than flavorful. We already made a spell, mind you, a custom spell for it, but kind of also on the other hand, I just had that thought, but please continue.
Yeah, I just really liked how they went into this to cover it. So these disabilities typically don't restrict their spellcasting ability, which like a lot of GMs try to do, unfortunately. They must, but if they perform an action they're not accustomed to that involves auditory elements, they must succeed a DC 5 flat check, or the action is lost. This is where I really liked it. It's best to give them sign language feat for free, and you might give them read lips for free as well. You might also give one or more other characters in the group sign language for free.
That is so smart. I love it.
That way you're not just like, well, how do I understand any of this? Like,
no, that's really, really awesome. Cool. So, yeah, I don't know. I want to like glance through the jam code, but I don't know that there is much in terms of changes and remaster specific things that I am aware of. Aside from maybe if we have some, I mean, there's not gonna be monsters in here, is there? Not really.
Nope.
Okay.
I was trying to find off guard. It doesn't look like that's in here actually. So maybe they are in the player club.
Yeah. Let's look for it.
I think off guard's the new flat-footed technically.
Yeah, and then we might just take a quick glance through the appendix and see, or glossary, or however.
We do have I don't really have a question, but I know people were curious about the talismans.
I'll take a look. Talismans. Because talismans are fixed ahead of time, and I'm on page 132, it doesn't mean that's where it's supposed to be. Activated as a free action. Unsure.
Yeah, I'm not sure what specifically they would have changed about them unless they're just changing the talismans themselves. Looks like the rules are around the same.
So I'm looking at the sign. There's in the treasure trove section, there is a whole, that's where the talisman is under momentary magic. Let me get there real quick. Momentary magic. There we go. So this would be page 263. An item with a talisman trait is a magical charm, gem, stone, or other small object affixed to armor, a shield, or a weapon. Each talisman holds a sliver of combat knowledge or magical energy that can be unleashed for a momentary boost of power or enhanced ability. Many talismans can be activated as a free action when you use a particular action or activity. A talisman is a consumable item and has the talisman trait. Okay, so you must be wielding or wearing the item to activate the talisman attached to it, and it burns out permanently once it's activated. So, hold on. My headphones keep falling off. That's on me. So all of these, fixing how to use them, blah, blah, blah.
Looks like they made new ones.
There's just new ones.
Yeah. Like Bloodseeker Beak is not new.
Yeah, looking through, I agree. I actually really, really like that because one of the things that we deal with a lot with talismans that I give you all in O&O, Outcast and Outclassed, is that sometimes a lot of you can't even use them based on your specific things because of the requirements. But Fubu mentioned it looks like they got rid of the skill proficiency requirements. Like you got to be trained in stealth to use this or that. Yeah. And I love that because it makes sense.
It does. I mean, I think a lot. Well, here's one that says you're trained in athletics actually. But
which
Dragon Turtle skill.
Interesting.
And Fade Band, you're trained in stealth, but I don't see any that says you're expert in this, which there used to be like level 4 items that was like, you're expert in stealth, which means what? A rogue can use it?
Right. So there are some trained.
You're trained in acrobatics, you're trained in athletics. Which like, I still kind of like, because like, sure it's a talisman, but like, are you going to be able to know when to even activate a Feather Step Stone if you're not trained in acrobatics?
I think it depends. So like the Dragon Turtle skill, I'm okay with the trained in athletics because it gives you a swim speed. So that makes sense that like equal to half your land speed. So you still need to be able to swim. And it's like, okay, if you have a trained in athletics, then you're going to be able to do the action, but not because you need it to activate it. Does that make sense?
Sure.
So like
kinda. So the rules of Pathfinder are weird. If you have a swim speed, you don't have to swim. You can just move freely in the water. Just like if you have a fly speed, you don't have to make a fly check.
Yeah, no, that's not what I was saying. Yeah. So then Fade Band, you trained in stealth. I do agree with Fumu, but some of them had it and are no longer had it. Like I'm pretty sure the Bloodseeker Beak. I'll have to double check.
Yeah, you hit an off-guard creature with a fixed weapon.
Interesting, but it definitely looks like let me go down to like some of the higher level items.
I mean, this one says you are master in perception. Eye of apprehension.
But that is at the same time a level 12 item, so
yeah.
And still, a lot of them don't. Even like other like 10 item 10 things like that. So.
Yep. It looks like they definitely
took a look at it.
Took a look at it and downed it a lot from what I see. Yeah, like there's a mending lattice item 13 and it just says you were trained in crafting. So
I'd like to imagine that playing out as like you got to know how to use it.
Yep. That's what I think too.
Yeah. Sure. No, to what you said. Yeah. Interesting. Thanks for pointing that out. I didn't notice that. Okay, I want off guard.
I'm just clicking through random things until you do it.
Yeah, by all means.
Relics. Did they change relics?
Ooh, I would love to know if they changed any relic stuff. Because relic seeds and everything are what we touch on as well in Ono.
Looks like they might have. Gift saves and spell attack modifiers. Many gifts allow for a saving throw or have abilities that change the relic as the relic goes up in level. Blah, 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 blah. So like air gifts. I don't know if they used to have like aspect air gifts.
They did.
Okay.
There are a lot of different categories, but I remember them being very complicated.
Yeah.
To grasp, and I do appreciate Archives of Nethys for how they've organized a lot of those relics.
Looks like
but it's also crafting your own relic was its own like call out or like custom relics. I forget the terms that were used.
Yeah.
So many off guard. If anybody's curious for rogue, key terms are debilitation, flourish, and stance. I don't know if those changed. I feel like some of them did.
Interesting. They might not have put the conditions in either of these, which
look up conditions. No, right there, conditions appendix. It's at the end.
Where I just was. What do you mean? Look right there.
Sorry. I'm pointing at my screen. Can't you see? On the bar on the side on the right.
I see it.
So if you go to your bookmarks, and you go to under the category.
I'm there.
Okay. There it is.
So blinded, broken, clumsy, concealed, confused, all the same.
But these are all the conditions, but I want the definitions of, like, off guard. There it is. All right. Page 445. And it is going to be the same thing, I'm sure. I just wanted to pull it out and see if there's anything else that we can notice. Off guard is -2. Only certain creatures, certain attacks, others, especially conditions, can make you off guard against everything. So if a rule doesn't specify the condition applies only to certain circumstances, it applies to all of them, such as the target is off guard. Makes sense.
Yep.
Persistent damage is the same. Petrified. I don't know. Has anybody heard of any other changes specifically? Obviously off guard. Stun.
Looks like they kept stun and slow to overlap the same.
Yep.
Yeah. I think
it's only off guard.
I think it didn't even change that much. It's just flat-footed is now off guard.
Yeah. So I'm sure there will be little things here and there in terms of just terminology changes, so not reworking, just things like off guard and things like rank, things like that. But I'm very excited for the new character sheets. I'm very excited for the flavor and kind of addressing both wizard and witch in particular. And I'm happy with the rogue. Fight me in chat in the comments, but I'm very happy with the rogue arcane trickster situation. But yeah, I mean it's most of everything. I think here, Waffles, before we wrap up, you'll put up your searching screen real quick.
Put up my searching screen.
Hide the books for a second.
Oh, okay.
And we're going to do one last thing before we wrap up, unless anybody has any other questions.
Oh, goodness.
We're going to go scroll through very quickly. We're going to give like 2 minutes, or not less, I don't know, time. And you're going to find your favorite piece of art the quickest you can.
My favorite piece of art?
Yep, we're going to scroll through things. We're going to find our favorite pieces of art, and then we'll show them off.
Oh, okay.
In complete silence, because that's very entertaining.
2 minutes of silence, please. Insert your favorite song here.
Yes. Please hum us a tune.
All right, I found one.
Oh, I found one too. Okay.
Right.
You're gonna start with yours.
Okay, mine is from the GM core.
Okay.
Page 186.
That's surprisingly close to mine. I'm like, go ahead and showcase it.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's like all the pixie. It's like someone in the Feywild definitely playing. It's like I like all the pixies in the background and the satyr and.
One thing that we did not mention, is the rework of the worlds and the
planes.
The planes, yes.
That's because they're not reworking those at all.
They did.
I know.
Okay. I can't tell with your dead.
Joke.
Joke, joke, joke. I like this image a lot.
Yeah.
Very, very serene, very, very beautiful.
Give me your image.
Ready for mine?
Yep.
It is on page 182. It's a full page.
On the GM core?
Yes. Like I said, very close to yours.
Oh, sheesh.
Sitting in the back got wrecked. So you have to scroll through this very slowly. Look at this epic airship question mark fight.
Definitely looks like an airship. It has wings.
It has wings, and that makes me want to do a campaign like this. It looks badass, and I thought it was cool. And
I
there's
like it
things.
a lot.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you for entertaining my last little bit here. Thank you to everybody for taking some time to check this out with us. There's some very interesting things. I've learned a lot. There's plenty more for me to look into. I think in particular the heritages and all that jazz. But I haven't found anything that I'm mad about. That's great. Airship campaign, you say? Heck yeah, we got a Discord. If you are not over there, come on over and hang out. We have a lovely little community, which we appreciate. Yeah, thanks again for Paizo for giving us this to take a quick little look at. Hopefully we didn't show too much. I don't know. It's all good.
Hey, look, hear me out.
Yeah.
Roll for combat. I'm gonna shout them out because they're good Paizo people. So they're doing basically every class once per day.
Ooh, very, very
so
cool.
I don't think we shut off too much.
No, I don't think so, really. I will also say, I don't know if you saw, had a time, we kind of had them up earlier. The covers of these are gorgeous. They reworked the covers of these, but I also very much encourage, it's personally a really, really cool style. They are the sketchbook covers that are for pre-order at your friendly local gaming store. They look so phenomenal, and we can't wait to get our hands on them.
It's my favorite art style, so we're getting period.
Yeah, so there's really cool. We hope you take a look at these and are excited to get your hands on them as well. Once again, thank you. And then please stick around. Like I said, we're Waffles Maple Syrup. I should say that. We play Pathfinder2e. We play Outcast and Outclassed bi-weekly Thursdays. If you haven't checked that out, we are going through the Strength of Thousands adventure path. We are on season 2, but do not let that daunt you, because we have everything is up on our YouTube. So please go, if you haven't subscribed on YouTube, that's going to be my one call to action. Help us out on our YouTube, youtube.com/WafflesMapleSyrup. And what you can do if you're like, while actual plays are fantastic, I don't have however many hours in my day to catch up through all of this. We have the most brilliant and epic
It's so good.
Summary of season 1 drawn in MS Paint for you to catch you straight up into season 2, so you can join us there if you so choose.
In this Paint animated, voice acted.
Heck yes.
What is it, like 6-minute recap?
It is 6 minutes that'll tell you everything that happened in season 1 to get you caught up to season 2. It's hilarious and very, very